In today's video, I'm sharing 2 fantastic novellas, as well as some Japanese horror mystery literature, and one of my favorite middle grade novels.
And I'm sharing about privateering and PI mystery.
Let's get into it.
I'm Brandon.
And I'm Taylor, and today we've got a reading update for you. And
We've been reading.
I have been reading a lot.
Yeah. More than me.
Yes, which is unusual. Usually you're over there devouring books left and right, and it's been me, baby.
Yeah.
Left and right.
That's right.
Yeah.
I got some finished stuff.
You got some good ones.
I got one finished thing.
Yeah, we got some things to talk about today. If you're new here, welcome. Hello, hi. It is, the way we format our reading update videos is we have a segment called Done and Dusted,
Those
where
are books we have finished.
Books we finished.
Yeah,
and then we have Bookmarked.
Yeah, those ones with bookmarks in them.
In them. We are currently reading these books. And then...
either quote of the day, compelling pickups, we kind of mix it up.
Yeah, the last segment is usually kind of...
A combination of those things.
Yeah, whatever strikes our fancy. But today it's going to be compelling pickups for me.
And a quote of the day for
and then
me.
a quote of the day for both of us. We both have a quote, but today I have a compelling pickup. That was actually a kind of like a Lent book.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So are you ready to get into it?
Yeah.
What are you drinking, by the way?
Oh, I am actually drinking, what is it called? Cold brew.
Yeah.
For the first time. We went to Carl's Donuts today for donuts, our local donut shop.
If you are ever in Vegas.
And I saw that they had behind the counter a cold brew from a local roaster that we like, Dark Moon Roasters. And I was, I'll give it a shot.
You know what? Carl's,
like it.
yeah, I liked it.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good. Carl's Donuts, if you're ever in Las Vegas, you have to go to Carl's Donuts. This place is legit. The donuts are amazing. It's not one of those places that has like the really ridiculous donuts
classic
that
donuts,
look like emojis.
pastries.
They're
And then they have some
classic
good-
donuts, and then they've got like the more
specialty
the specialty ones,
And
but
they
it's
supply
separated.
a lot of the gas stations and stuff around town.
Yeah, but they're a staple here in Vegas, and they're fantastic, and they have really great coffee. So they supply Dark Moon, which is a local roaster that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm actually drinking what's left from a latte that I got there, and it's super good. I was dipping my cinnamon cake donut in it though, so now when I look,
cinnamon flecks.
there's these little like cinnamon flecks in my cup here.
Hey.
So hey, but it's good. We have more donuts over there.
Yeah, that's true. All right, you want to start us off? Wow.
Look and see.
Oh yeah.
It's like I just ate some donut just now.
All right.
That's unsightly. Yeah, you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
I'm ready to start us off.
start us
Okay.
off.
I am going to start. Now, I have been on this like short little book kick right now where I want to try to find short books to read because
Keep it going.
to kind of expose yourself to different kinds of books more frequently in between your bigger
Different
books.
style of writings, different genres, different authors.
Yeah, I think you can get through a really cool story in less pages and just be exposed to more.
Yeah.
In
You're
a
not just
smaller
trying to
period of
pad
time.
your reading goal.
I'm not. No, I'm not.
I know, I'm kidding.
But you can if you are trying to do that. This is a great way to pad your reading goal. But this one, this book is quite short. This is called Silver in the Wood by Emily Tesh. And this one how did I manage to find this? Well, I did a Google search for some really great short books, and this came up on the list. It's 105 pages, and I ordered it, had it sent, and because they didn't have it at Barnes & Noble or anything like that.
Local place.
Yeah, so I
That we
picked it
could
up.
find.
I ordered it. It says, a true story of the woods, of the fae, and of the heart, deep and green and wonderful. This book was really cool. So it's hard to like say too much about it, but you have a man who lives in the woods in a cabin, and he's kind of wild. And the people that are in the villages around there think that he's like the wild man that lives in the woods and that he's dangerous. You have to keep your distance. Well, one day, a young man, the reason he's wandering through the woods, he's actually making his way to the big manor house that's on the other side of the woods that he now has inherited or that he owns. The wild man kind of invites him in to take him out of the rain and give him some shelter for the night. And the young man comes in and is kind of taken by this older man. And about his with his like air of mystery and all of this, but also kind of in a I don't want to say like a romantic way, but kind of like he's just kind of taken by this man and vice versa. They both are kind of compelled by one another.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Well, anyway, you find out through the course of like their conversations with one another, but then the hermit, like we'll just call him that for now, his interactions with the woods and then some people in the woods and all of these, you start to understand that there's so much more going on here with the lore of the woods and kind of the like the fantasy nature of all of that and who this hermit actually is and his relationship with this other man. I don't know. I feel like I muddied up the waters here, but it's a really cool story. It's a really interesting read. And it has this like cozy, woodsy, folksy vibe to it. And there's a sequel. In fact, we're going to be putting out a video where we share some really great short books that are on our TBR. And the sequel to this one is going to be in that video. So you can check for that. So that is my first Done and Dusted, Silver in the Wood by Emily Tesh. I gave this one 4 stars. I said this was a really cool story full of lore and woodsy delights and a sweet love.
Cool.
Yeah. It's a duology. So this is the first of 2. And again, it's getting dark in here. The sun just went down. Holy smokes, guys.
Not down. It went behind a cloud.
I'm sorry.
It's 9:30 in the morning.
The sun ain't going nowhere. There. If it just got bright, all of a sudden I made some adjustments. Yeah. Our kids, again, are outside.
As they do.
Running the streets.
They're wild in the wood.
Yes. So I'm sorry. It's going to be noticeable. It's part of the immersive experience
of the Earl
family and the Good Books Lately podcast. See?
All right. My only Done and Dusted since the last update is one that I shared on the last one, which is Replay by Ken Grimwood. This is a great sci-fi time travel novel reflecting back into the past, not to the future. Is a time travel that doesn't have a kind of a machine element. There's no element of like machine travel. It's more mental.
It's like one of those like you wake up and you're there.
Yeah. Right? And the premise of this is that the main character, Jeff, he dies. He's having a heart attack and he dies, and he start with him dying, and then he wakes back up and he thinks he's going to be in the hospital and like he's survived, but actually he's in his old college dorm room when he's 18.
And so he has died.
And now he's like, he's died, but now he's being transferred back to his 18-year-old self with the memories of his whole life spent up to 44 years old or whatever it was when he died. And now he's trying to figure out why he's back. And then he does the things that you would do if you were given the chance to relive a part of your life with the memories. He goes and makes a bunch of money on investments and gambling and different things. And
now I'm understanding. This reminds, I'm not saying this is the same, but it reminds me in the way that you are going to talk about the progression of how he goes about this. It reminds me of Groundhog Day.
Yeah. I mean, it does have a kind of a Groundhog Day. Yeah. He's going to have to keep replaying things.
But like your choices and how you keep replaying them start to drastically change the more you realize like that something has to change here.
Right. Yeah. And so he's going to replay, and then he does things to try to keep, he stays in good health. Mm-hmm. He has his heart checked, right around the time he died last time, and it still happens. And then when he wakes up, he's back in his 18-year-old body, and he's got to replay his life again. And it goes through multiple replays of his life, and you start to understand that this is not just a fun story about time travel. It's more about kind of life and people's choices and the choices they make and what that means for their future selves and how we can reflect back on choices.
But it sounds like those choices you make won't matter.
It's not that they won't matter, but you can't dwell on them, or you shouldn't like dwell like, oh, what would have happened if I did this? Like, it's just showing that like he's showing that these are the things that could have happened if I did it this way, or I knew this, or whatever. But at the end, I'm not spoiling it here. You kind of get the sense that he's understanding that, okay, I lived a life. I've lived multiple lives now. He's probably lived 4, 5, 6 lifetimes. And he's just has a better understanding of what it means to be thankful for where you're at now. Not to think back of all the mistakes you've made or all the potentials of the future. Just kind of be living in the moment and kind of being appreciative, I think.
Almost like maybe like his experience of reliving it over and over again made him realize like in the end, it gave him perspective in the end, as opposed to like changing his outcome.
And I think this book is definitely, at surface level, you think it's just going to be a fun sci-fi time travel, but really when you dig into it, it's more of a deep thinker.
Yeah.
It's going to have you pondering your life choices and the kind of things in your life and what you're going through at different stages or what you did go through. And there's a kind of a unique love story that's in here. He falls in love or has relationships throughout multiple times, but there's one that kind of goes throughout.
Yeah.
And it's very, very interesting how that works out. I highly recommend it. It was one that I didn't know much about going in read it and just absolutely loved it. And so if you have not read Replay or have heard about it, go check it out, because I think anybody would really enjoy it, not just sci-fi lovers.
What a cool like book to read alongside. Well, you were reading it. I don't know if you
I
were
read it
reading
right
it at the same
after
time. Dark Matter, but like we read Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, and this one I feel like it's such an interesting.
It was kind of a cool like parallel. It like had kind of and then we were watching Dark Matter, the TV series, while I was reading this, and I would in that series. There's a similar kind of aspect. So it's so fun. I give it 5 stars, obviously, because I finished it and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I highly recommend this to go get.
All right.
Your next one?
My next one is another little novella. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
This is how I've managed to have some done and dusteds, because I am reading Lies of Locke Lamora. I'm obsessed with that book. It's not here with me today, so I'm just going to go ahead and get it out of the way, only because I've been talking about it so much because I've been reading it, taking so long.
Been pausing it for a little bit.
Well, I've not even paused it. I've been reading it consistently, but I'll like read it in the morning and then I'll read like a few other things throughout
the day.
And then one book that I have right here is one I read in like a day and a half because I just devoured it. But for Lies of Locke Lamora, those of you that are waiting for my thoughts on that, it's like probably my most enjoyable reading experience.
She's letting it slow burn.
So I'm savoring that like nobody's business. So anyway, but this is called Prosper's Demon. This is a book by KJ Parker. So KJ Parker, I didn't know anything about KJ Parker before reading this book. This book, just to kind of give you an idea of how fast you can smash this, is 99 pages. This is a book about an exorcist. And it takes place in a time that you would make you think of like the Renaissance. Yeah. Okay. So we have this exorcist. We don't have a name. Okay. We just know he's an exorcist, but other than that,
is he the main character?
Yeah. And he's not.
So he's an unknown or unnamed narrator.
He is
unnamed.
He is the narrator.
Okay.
He is absolutely an unreliable narrator. Okay. Yeah. And also a very gray character. Dark gray. Like it. Yeah. Okay. He's a dark gray character. Sometimes you think that he's going to lighten up in terms of his grayness, but he is a dark gray character. Okay. And that is something that is really up for, like your, what is that? Like everybody could look at that differently. Yeah. Okay. But anyway, he's an exorcist. His job is to go and exorcise demons from people. And demons are these beings that kind of live in this, I don't know, like nobody really knows what they look like. Yeah, definitely in like this realm. And they are obviously the minions of like the devil or whatever. But they possess people. Yeah. And so his job is to go and extract them. And the way that you extract demons is violent and oftentimes leads to the death of the person who's possessed, or it inflicts incredible pain on the demon. But he is able to like be in the presence of a person who's possessed and have an internal conversation with a demon who's possessing them and kind of talk about the situation and how they almost like negotiate the situation. Sometimes he will work as almost like a negotiator to get the demon to leave of their own volition. But if that doesn't happen, he has to extract them, and that can be really bad. Anyway, so it's about this, and sometimes he will become possessed, and when he's like unaware, and then he'll do horrible things.
Exercise himself.
And then he can exercise himself. And he has this ability because he's had this ability since he was a child. And so it's something that's built in. And so usually when he is possessed, it's happening when I feel like when maybe he's into like maybe inebriated or if he's sleeping. Okay. And so it kind of happens when he's not. And then he does these horrible things. And then he like realizes like, oh, Jesus, not again. And then he figures out. Okay. So the exorcist learns that the princess is going to be marrying a duke. And this is a big deal because this is like the dukedom.
Princess and duke.
Yeah, it's a princess, whatever. They're getting married. And he kind of starts paying attention to what's going on in the court because that's his job. He has to kind of figure out where he needs to go. That's how he determines where he needs to go. And I think obviously if you're an exorcist in this setting, you want to probably keep your eyes out for the people that are going to pay the most, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, he learns that they're going to get married. And one of her stipulations is that when she gets married, that her tutor and confidant Prosper of Sean's goes with her wherever she goes because he's this amazing art. Yeah, he's almost like if you can think of like a Da Vinci. Okay. Like an amazing guy. Renaissance man, multiple talents. Yes. And she wants him there because they want him to help rear the child to turn him into the best possible leader. Well, there's something about this Prosper of Shams, that triggers something in the exorcist to be like, wait, a minute. Like, this man is almost like too good.
Yeah.
And so he wants to go and figure out what's going on. So he wants to seek an audience with the princess or the duchess at this time, right? They get married.
Princess? Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And so he needs to go and figure out how to get an audience with her. Well, so that he could speak to this guy, right? This Prosper guy.
Yeah.
And so he manages to get himself an audience and starts to get in and talk to this Prosper guy, and discovers that this guy is as amazing as he is because he is possessed by a demon. And it starts to raise the whole like fact that there are demons that will possess you and harm not only you, but harm the people around you and only seek to do evil.
Okay.
And then there are demons who will possess you and make you into something that is really wonderful, but only because their very long-term goal might actually be maybe evil.
Yeah.
So in the short term, in terms of the lifespan of the person who's possessed and the people around them, they will never see anything evil come of it. But demons are, they live forever, unless of course they get, or whatever. They live forever.
Yeah.
Their long-term plans. So the exorcist kind of knows, after conversating with this demon through the head of this guy, like talking to them, they realize that they have some dark plans, but over the course of several years, hundreds of years, it's going to seem like it's great. And so the question of like, do you pull the demon from the person, potentially killing the person, and and removing all things about this person that makes them of value to society in the moment?
Yeah.
Just because it's a demon, or do you let the demon continue to possess the person and continue to keep them being this
good stuff? Yeah.
And then it starts to get complicated because now there's a second demon that comes into play, and then the whole situation becomes like a question of like, do you choose the lesser evil? That's a huge theme of you choose?
In this amount of time.
Yes, I feel like you could have read this book in less time than I'm talking to you.
It seems like a lot going on.
I know.
98 pages.
Well, it's because the words.
It's not even like these are small words.
No, the words on the page are one thing, but all the stuff going on in your head is a whole nother thing, because you're starting to have these like thoughts and philosophies. And so it's asking like questions about like gray area and like good and evil and the lesser evil. A lot of things coming up about like gray, black and white, gray, the whole thing. It made me think of the Witcher series, because the whole lesser evil topic comes out.
Right.
It's really good. Okay. I thought it was really good. It's a thinker. I don't know how deep of a thinker, but it's definitely a thinker for sure.
Obviously.
And keep an eye out for our video on TBR short books, because I have the sequel to this, which
2
sounds,
sequels.
I really thought this was great. I mean,
What
I think I gave it 3.5 stars.
3.5.
No, I said 3.5 stars. It's good. It's good. I said interesting, and I have thoughts on this. I'll iron those out and provide a more detailed review later. I need to do that.
Which is just now we did.
I have some quotes and stuff in there that I can bring up in quote of the day or whatever.
Okay.
But I definitely have thoughts with that. And it's just, I don't know, it challenges your perception of like what you will accept in gray characters and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I don't know. I'm like, I don't even know.
I don't have
right,
any
4 stars maybe.
Yeah. I don't have any done and dusted. So or any more. So you have one
I got
more?
another one.
Which the most recent finish.
Yes. Okay. So this was a book that my brother-in-law was reading, and Bryce, your brother, and I thought he recommended it, but he hadn't recommended it. I just saw it on his Goodreads, and the cover immediately compelled me.
Yeah.
It's by Uketsu. Oh, there it is. And it's called Strange Pictures. It's considered like mystery horror, and it's Japanese mystery horror. This guy, Uketsu, he is, let me read to you what it says here. He's an enigmatic presence on YouTube and an author specializing in horror and mystery. He always appears in videos wearing a white mask and a black body stocking, and I'll pop the picture up here, with his voice digitally distorted. His true identity is unknown. His novels Strange Pictures and his next novel, which is called Strange Houses, which I cannot wait for, comes out in June, were massive hits in Japan.
Yeah.
He lives in Japan.
All right.
Okay, so I picked this up, and I was curious to see what it was all about. From the moment I started reading the first page of this, I was sucked in and completely invested.
Yeah, you texted me while I was at work. You were at the coffee shop.
Yes.
Like, I'm almost done with this book.
Yes.
I'm loving that.
It is so good. So you start reading it, and it's about, there's a mystery, okay? And throughout the story, or throughout the book, you're getting little stories or vignettes of various people that are connected. And each story about these people and each little like sub mystery within the overall mystery surrounds or is communicated or elucidated by pictures that people have drawn.
Yeah.
I don't think anything I said made sense just now. But there's these little pictures and sketches, and these sketches or images kind of help move the mystery along or are some kind of like a hinge on like how this mystery gets solved in the long run.
Yeah.
And so it's cool. That's why it's called Strange Pictures. Okay, it says the spine-tingling bestseller that has taken Japan by storm, an eerie, fresh take on mystery horror in which a series of seemingly innocent pictures draws you into a disturbing web of unsolved mysteries and shattered psyches. But when I started reading it, I read the first part of it, super interesting. Got to chapter 2, and it felt like I was starting a whole new story. And I'm like, is this a collection of short stories that kind of have the same theme around like pictures? But then you get to a point, and I even put it in one of my updates, like page 140 or something, where you're like, wait, no, this is connected. And you're just like,
yeah,
it's so good. And the way that it's delivered is really easy to read. As eerie as it is and mysterious as it is, it's super cozy.
Yeah.
And I said in my review, I said it reads like some of my favorite Japanese horror games play.
Okay, yeah.
Like there's
you're really into watching those.
Yeah, so there's like that Japanese horror video game like house called Chilla's Arts.
Yeah.
And his I don't know, their games are kind of like this. You can tell Japanese writers
this, like,
and story developers, they really like to kind of write about these mysterious, eerie topics, and like horror is like really big over there, but they do it so well that it makes it cozy and so much fun. So I really love this. It's got my interest. Yeah, I gave it 4 stars.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm being a little bit more conservative with my stars because I think it's a little bit more constructive.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it. I loved every bit of it. It was great. But it's got me interested in reading more Japanese fiction.
Good.
So yeah, the next one comes out in June. So
nice.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry,
awesome. It's the Taylor Show.
I'm sorry.
It's fine. I could be reading more.
I know. I've just been very excited.
It's good. I like it.
Okay, good.
All right. Bookmarked?
Bookmarked.
All right. So I'm currently reading 2 books. Well, we are still both listening to
Wheel of Time.
Wheel of Time, the first book. Eye of the World?
Yes.
So we're still listening to that. I listen to that on the way to work and way home.
Can I tell you my thoughts?
What? Yeah.
Okay, I'm enjoying it.
You're the one that got me started.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's not that I don't like it. I got inspired to listen to it because of Thomas from Thomas Howell. Okay, we love him. Hi, Thomas. Anyway, he also, he loves Name of the Wind, right?
Yeah.
I have Name of the Wind, but he has made me want to read or listen to Name of the Wind. And part of me, because Wheel of Time, it's like, oh my gosh, you're in this for like ever.
But at least finish the first one.
No,
and then
I think that's my plan.
You don't have to go through the whole series.
I'm going to finish the first one, and then I'm going to listen to Name of the Wind.
Okay.
And maybe even mix in listening and reading it, because I have the physical copy.
Yeah.
But I feel like Thomas is dictating my audiobook reads right now because he also read The Last Unicorn, and now I want to like pick up The Last Unicorn because I think it's a short book, and I just like Thomas. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
So, but anyway, I'm like 43% of the way through that.
Annihilating it.
Well, I get the 15, 20 minutes to work, 15, 20 minutes back.
Yeah.
So, all right. But anyway, I'm also physically reading 2 other books. One coming off our nonfiction video last time.
Hey, and up she rises. Yay, hey, and up she rises.
You want to cover your face here?
Yay, hey, and up she rises early in the morning.
Not about those pirates.
Sorry.
All right. I'm reading Rebels at Sea by Eric J. Dolan.
Shave his balls with a rusty razor. I'm just trying to set the scene for you here.
I know.
Okay, I'm going to shut up. Go for it. I'm ready.
Okay. But anyway, I picked this up when we were in Massachusetts on our trip.
Where were we?
Massachusetts. I can't say that word. Good old Boston area.
Yeah.
It was the bookshop in Beverly. Right? That's what it was called.
Wasn't it? Didn't it have a nautical name?
No, it was called the Little Bookshop in Beverly.
Okay, well, I thought you were telling me that where...
No, that's what it was called. I picked that because I had been reading the Pirates books and different books about sailing, like The Wager, and so I was still in that mindset. And this one is all about the privateering that happened during the American Revolution. And oftentimes, people just combine privateering and pirates to be the same thing. And while they kind of are, and they often can be kind of viewed in the same way. This is kind of making the distinction that these aren't pirates. These are actual like merchants and sailors who turn to privateering with orders of papers of marquee, or I believe it's called, or orders of marquee, to allow them to go after a very specific target, which is any British ships or merchant ships from Britain, to commandeer them and then sell the ship and everything on board as their prize to limit what the British
were being paid by a third party to do these kinds of things.
They
in some way compensated.
The U.S. colonies were giving these letters of marque to privateers
to go do something
that
would benefit America or the colonies.
In the end would benefit.
That was like the difference between like privateering was almost like a freelance pirating.
Yeah, it was like you were legal pirates basically.
You were going for the highest bidder was gonna, or whatever. Like you were just trying to get.
You just had a legal document that said you could do this. And usually it came at times of war. You were granted these, and what didn't just happen in the American Revolution. This happened in all. Yeah. Anytime they were sailing and whatever. But this is all about how the colonies begin. The privateering before the actual official war starts, because they're trying to negate some of the different acts that the British are putting on that will eventually lead to the American colonists being upset. And kind of that whole thing, it talks about the privateers. I'm about 40% of the way through. Yeah. So this takes a look at a segment of the American Revolution that I wasn't familiar with. You're usually familiar with, or what you get taught or learned about in school here in America, is kind of the land battles in the army of George Washington and
very central players.
Yeah, right? And like Battle of Saratoga and all the, kind of just those kind of battles. Yeah. You don't really hear much about any kind of sea battle, because that's because the American colonies didn't have a navy at the time, or because they were a British subject, so their navy
was kind of like their
navy. So this is like the colonists and the different people playing, the founding fathers, coming up with a way to combat what was at the time the biggest and most powerful navy in the world, the British Navy, because it's no longer, and because they're deposing them, they have to fight them on that front, and because a lot of their stuff is coming from England or Europe, the British Navy can kind of barricade them from that. And it's like at the whole time, like Boston was barricaded, the harbor was barricaded or blocked off, and so was New York City. So this is kind of telling what they did to combat that, and how they eventually used privateering to get the French involved, which will eventually lead to helping them end the war. So really cool. I'm interested. It's Would you recommend this to a person who doesn't typically read nonfiction? No. This is a nonfiction that's very much kind of like academic in a sense. It kind of will reiterate a lot of the same points by using different segments of it, and it kind of bounce around from time to time. Doesn't read like fiction, but it does read relatively quickly, because even though the words are like really small font, what it does do is it incorporates like a picture on it, and then this isn't in continuation of the text. It's just about that picture. So you can just skip right past that. And did you lose your spot? Sorry, I have it marked on Goodreads. I'm on 111. Whoa ho, and up she rises. All right, so that's what I'm reading. One of the books I'm reading right now for Bookmarked. I like it. I was thinking while you were saying that it tells you about the American Revolution, is that I kind of like the idea of reading like nonfiction books about something that's very well known, but from like through a lens of something that was lesser well known, like something that was happening on the periphery of the main thing. Yeah, it gives you a different look at it. Sure. I like that. I think that's a cool way to learn about a historical event. So cool. Okay. All right. So my first bookmarked that I'm going to share with you here is a book but my first experience with this story was watching the movie a long time ago. And I think I don't remember I think the movie came out in like 2008. Okay. So when I saw the movie, I think I was just living on my own in an apartment. Yeah, I don't even because I just remember watching it one day. I don't know, like maybe I was sick. I was home from work sick or something. But anyway, I really loved the movie. And so I finally decided with the boys, like I want to buy this book and I want to read it because it's really fascinating. So this is called The City of Ember, and this is by Jean Duprow. Jean Duprow or Jean Duprow. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. It's a post-apocalyptic dystopian story where something has happened that has caused people. Okay, so you don't know. There's certain things you don't know at the top of the book. So something has happened
that now we have a society living in a community that is lit entirely by incandescent light bulbs.
Yeah.
There's no light like what we imagine light. So it's pitch black other
sun.
than the incandescent light bulbs
There's no
that
sun
light.
out.
There's no mention of sun.
Okay.
There's no mention of animals. They live in this place that is completely dark. Okay. But
And there's like a forgotten knowledge.
and
right?
there's absolutely a forgotten knowledge. They are living in what seems almost like not squalor, but just they don't have resources being produced. So they're reusing a lot of things. Paper is very much a hot commodity, but it's like they're not creating or producing anything. There's no manufacturing going on. It's utilizing whatever they have left over from when things went like dark.
Yeah.
Okay. But there's also this in the beginning of the story, the reader is given information that there exists a box, and within the box is a series of instructions that the citizens of Ember need to follow at a given time that will be determined by when the box opens. And so the box has some kind of a timer on its lock, and after so many years, which I think is like 200 and something years, the lock will open, the box will you'll be able to access the instructions inside, and those instructions are supposed to help the people of Ember move on with something, okay? Which you assume has something to do with beyond, right? And it's like 200 and something years, and so I know where this goes. I know how this ends. And you don't want to say too much from that, because you can tell in the beginning of the book as you're reading this that nobody's telling you anything. You just are given, this is the setting, this is where they live, these are the materials they have. Ooh, why is everything the way it is? No answers are being given. And so we have this young girl named Lena, and she's, I want to say she's supposed to be 12 or 13, but she is now moving out of school and into the workforce. They start really young. And so she's been given the job of messenger. She delivers messages from people just orally, like she's a messenger. Sometimes it's on paper, but otherwise she communicates the messages. And then she has a friend or an acquaintance by the name of Dune, and he's given a job in what's called the Pipeworks. Right. This is the Pipeworks that helps provide water to the community. And they end up, he has like he's very hot-headed, mechanically inclined, and he is convinced that something is wrong because the electricity keeps going out. Something's happening, and everybody's very worried that eventually it's going to go dark forever. And when it goes dark and they have blackouts in this place, it's pitch black. You can't see anything. Which is great because it kind of causes the reader to start speculating
where they're at, what this is.
Right. Anyway, they end up joining forces to try to figure out what's going on because things are happening in the story that suggest something needs to change and quick.
Right.
So it's fantastic.
And the boys are loving it.
The boys love it. The writing is really, so well written. It's middle grade, but it's also well written, and I'm enjoying it, and I can't wait to finish it because I want to watch the movie. We're about halfway through. Yeah, I really love it. So it's a fantastic one. Even if you love a good dystopian type post-apocalyptic story and you want something that's really cozy, this is a good one, and the movie is a lot of fun too. So awesome. That is City of Ember.
That's great. Okay, my next one, the only other one I'm reading currently, I picked this up when we first kind of got into this reading journey.
Was this a thrift store find?
Yeah, so it was a thrift store find. Didn't know anything about it. Picked it up, probably drawn to it by the cover.
Yeah. Wait, why? Let me see the cover. Oh.
But didn't know it. Hadn't heard of this author before, and then kind of read the flap, and I was like, "Oh, that's a cool story." And then realized it's part of a series of stories. It's called "The Cuckoo's Calling" by Robert Galbraith.
How long did it take you to realize who the author of that is?
Not too long.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I found out is that Robert Galbraith is a pen name for J.K. Rowling. You find that out on the flap. So I read through the flap, and then it kind of comes through. So it's not like they're hiding it or whatever. It's just her doll. So
it's like it's her mystery.
Yeah, and so this is her. Yeah. It says a brilliant debut mystery in the classic vein. Detective Camoran Strike investigates a supermodel's suicide. And so I was into it. I kind of I've always been drawn to kind of these murder mystery detective PI kind of stories.
Is that what it is? Does it have like a noir vibe to it?
It's not a noir vibe.
Like a Dick Tracy vibe?
No, it's a modern setting in London. He's a PI though. He's a private investigator, a private dick. If you must.
Private dick.
Yeah, if you must. But he's been hired, and he's kind of down on his luck. He's a former military police for the British military, and lost his leg in Afghanistan. We don't know exactly how, but he's whatever. But he's a big guy. Kind of, they describe him as kind of not a very handsome man, but like hairy, big, rugby style kind of looking guy. So if you
it's
think
Hagrid as like a detective.
yeah, yeah. But he's very good at what he does. He's very precise. He's very detailed, and it's good. She writes very easily, and I'm enjoying it, and it's a compelling story because I'm as you're going through, like you do with these mystery kind of novels, you're trying to figure out what's the clue, who's the person, who did it, this thing.
Oh my gosh, you would love Strange Pictures.
Yeah,
Like
so
that.
no, I do, but like this is very much you kind of are being told, and you're being walking through, and him collecting evidence and interviewing people, and it's really cool. There's also a side character who becomes a secretary, I know there's multiples in the Comorian Strike series by J.K. Rowling. That I don't know if that character is going to continue on, but in this she becomes his secretary, and I think that dynamic is kind of cool and interesting.
It's like a Watson.
Yeah, she doesn't play a big role, but that she's there, and and when the way they're introduced and they come together, it's kind of interesting and fun. But I'm liking it. I think I'm going to be able to finish this within the next couple of days, maybe by the end of the month.
Cool.
By next weekend, because it's really good. I have the next
a couple of days within the end of the month by next weekend.
Yeah,
you've got some options.
Which is a week.
Yeah, that's true.
Of filming this, that's a week. But I already have the next one, and then I have another one, like the third or fourth.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I decided, hey, I think I'm gonna like it. I'll go ahead and pick up a couple extra.
It was super random when you brought it.
And they were like,
I was like, oh, okay.
They were all thrift book finds, so it was like, like I can get 3 of them out of the series for like $6.
That's great.
Kind of so, having a fun with this one.
Having a fun.
Really enjoying it. Can't wait to see how it turns out. But it is about the supermodel who everyone assumes committed jumping off her balcony thing, but there's something about it that one person isn't. He's like, no, there's something fishy about it, and she's very like one of those big time famous supermodels. Everyone knows
where everybody's like, this wouldn't happen.
And so there's like fan clubs that are like, they're speculative, like so they're online, like, why did she change clothes before she jumped out? When she,
I love that.
Yeah, so
that's cool.
It's really kind of cool the way that it's going about, and so I am really enjoying it.
Good, I'm glad. Very cool.
Yeah, but that's it. That's all I'm reading so far. Do you have?
All right, I've got another one that I am currently reading. So last video I mentioned that I don't know if it was like I had finished it or it was a bookmarked at the time, but it was the Murderbot series. So I started based on a recommendation from Phil's Got Books. To start the Murderbot Diaries.
Yeah.
So the first book in the Murderbot Diaries was All Systems Red, and I finished that one, talked about it in the last episode. Well, I decided once I finished that, I was going to have my bedtime book be part 2 in the Murderbot Diaries, which is called Artificial Condition by Martha Wells. It's still blurry, but whatever. That's why we put pictures up on the screen. Yeah. I love this because I love Murderbot. This story is really just opening up to be, I'm already almost like halfway through it.
Yeah, but you should be done with this by now.
I really should be.
She will read it at night and get 1 or 2 pages in and fall asleep. But then you're saying I fall asleep so quickly that I have to go back a couple pages.
I don't know. So, and this is not a dig on the book at all, because we wake up really early. Yeah. So we wake up really early, 5 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes I'm up like at 4:30 naturally. My body just wakes up. Like I sleep like a rock, and then 4:30 is like, I'm ready. So I'm up really early. Yeah. So when it comes time for bedtime, I realize like how long I've been awake. Yeah. And going, when you're reading a book and it's just like all of a sudden you can't do anything about it, but you're just falling gone. Asleep, or like that slow. And it's not about the book. It's like what you're reading in the book just starts to become weird. And then you realize, it's because I was like, it's so weird. So anyway, that's been happening with this book a lot. And it's not because the book is boring, because I get so frustrated because it's not boring. Yeah. But anyway, it's a great story. It continues with Murderbot.
Does it continue from the past one, or is it a new, he's on a new assignment?
No, it continues from the past one, but it's moving in a direction. It's moving in a direction away from the past book, because that event kind of got wrapped up. You could read the last one if you wanted and not read this one, but it's using information you learned in the last one to kind of propel the story forward. So, and there's another character that you're introduced to here in the very beginning, and I say character. It's interesting what this character is, but the relationship that they develop is really fun. He actually refers to this character, and I want to I don't even know if I'll be able to find it, but he refers to this character as Art.
Oh, okay. I think somebody in our comments mentioned this, that
Art?
they loved Murderbot and Art or whatever.
Yeah, Art is fantastic. Art stands for Asshole Research Transport. Okay. And that's Murderbot for you, okay?
Is that Murderbot?
That's Murderbot's
he came
name.
Up with that. That's not the official name?
No, that's Murderbot's name.
Okay.
I will put a little thing I don't think that's a spoiler.
Okay. It
says in the thing on the flap, teaming up with a research transport vessel named Art. You don't want to know what the A stands for.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's the dynamic between these two. It's very much like a grumpy old men, odd couple kind of.
Yeah.
Not grumpy old men, odd couple. Yeah.
Grumpy old men.
Yeah. It's kind of like a similar relationship.
Right.
And it's continuing. And I'm wondering if that character will continue through to the next. I don't know.
Maybe.
But I really love the dynamic in this story. I don't want to give too much about the plot because you really have to read the first one. But if you need some really good sci-fi that's like short, unassuming, you kind of just get into it and you enjoy the character. This is a really good one. There are some quirks in it in terms of the writing. And I don't want to say there's anything wrong with the writing. It's more of like a quirk in how she's choosing a couple of things with characters and including that in the writing that makes it trips you up in your reading. But as you go, you'll know what I mean if you read this and you'll get to it. You'll be like, oh, that's what she was talking about. Okay. I'm okay with it. It's taken me a little bit to like have it roll off my tongue. That's the only thing. Otherwise, I recommend it. It's great. So that's my last bookmarked. Nice. Other than the ones, my Shirley Jackson memoir, I'm obsessed with this. It's another one I'm savoring. And then Lies of Locke Lamora.
Cool.
So
awesome.
You ready to move on to?
I got a quote of the day.
I have a compelling pickup.
You want to do compelling pickup?
Yeah, you have no compelling pickups.
I don't.
And that's because I've been
on a buying freeze for myself.
Not me. Not when it comes to books. And that's not even a part of this. This book I'm about to share with you was actually lent to me by my mom. This is the My Life at Rose Red. So it's the Diary of Ellen Rimbauer, My Life at Rose Red. My mom lent this to me. This is what Stephen King's Rose Red miniseries is based on.
I'm not familiar with that.
Okay, I am familiar with it by name, but I've not watched it. I want to know. I don't know if my mom has watched it. Mom, if you have watched this, have you watched this? But she recommended this to me because it's supposed to be super creepy. And I'm so excited to read this. Like crazy excited. But here's my quandary. It a shorty? It's not a shorty. Oh, okay. It's
regular length?
I mean, it's like regular length. Yeah, it's like 277 pages here. And I don't know if that includes...
What's your quandary?
I don't know if this is fiction or not. So I know that sounds weird. I know, like you should know that. But when you read the back of this, you think it's like a memoir or that it is an actual diary of Ellen Rimbauer about this real place. And I haven't started reading. I read that. My mom sent that to me. So I started reading that. But I'm wondering, is this one of those books that's trying to blur the lines of whether or not this is real? Because can I borrow it back really quick?
Yeah.
So it says on the back, if you let me know, okay? It says at the turn of the 20th century, Ellen Rimbauer, the young bride, fiction. It says it.
Yeah.
Mom, did you know it was fiction? But listen to this, okay? At the turn of the 20th century, Ellen Rimbauer, the young bride of Seattle industrialist John Rimbauer, began keeping a remarkable diary. This diary became the secret place where Ellen could confess her anxieties about her new marriage, express her confusion over her emerging sexuality, and contemplate the nightmare that her life was becoming. The diary not only follows the development of a girl into womanhood, it follows the construction of the Rimbauer mansion called Rose Red, an enormous home that would be the site of so many horrific and inexplicable tragedies in the years ahead. The Diary of Ellen Rimbauer, My Life at Rose Red, is a rare document, one that gives us an unusual view of daily life among the aristocracy in the early 1900s, a window into one woman's hidden emotional torment, and a record of the mysterious events at Rose Red that scandalized society at the time. Edited by Joyce Reardon, Ph.D., as part of her research, the diary is being published as preparations are being made by Dr. Reardon to enter Rose Red and fully investigate its disturbing history. It says on the front, edited by Joyce Reardon, Ph.D., with an afterword by Stephen Rimbauer.
Yeah, it's like one of those like ones that is making it seem like it's real.
Are you sure?
Well, it says fiction on the side.
I could be Googling this right now and I'm not going to do that. What I am going to do is throw this back to you folks. Tell me, is this real?
Yeah.
Because if it's not real and this is fiction, I'm still very excited.
Oh, yeah.
It was written in 2001. It says all rights reserved, no part. No, sorry, I was going to see if it said like all names have been changed or something. Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, I'm excited to read this because based on what my mom said and then the reviews.
It sounds super interesting.
It sounds super interesting. Plus, then there's the miniseries we could find. Did I say miniseries?
Maybe.
What is wrong? Anyway, that is my compelling pickup. Thank you, Mom. I'm excited for this. And quote of the day.
Yeah, I'll do a quote of the day.
Quote of the day.
So this quote of the day is coming from Rebels at Sea, the privateering book. And I don't think it's very, it's not like one of those like thinking ones.
Who cares? Share it. I'm ready.
This one is, shoot, I lost the page.
Do you hear the children?
I do.
I know we've come a long way, but tell me, where do the children play?
This quote I liked because it really, I think, encapsulates the profoundness of some of our founding fathers, specifically John Adams in this, for how they were not only understanding how large the moment was at the time of the American Revolution, but I think it kind of really touches on how he understood what this moment meant for the future of the world. Yeah, this is a quote from John Adams. He's writing to a friend, a fellow lawyer, after Virginia's Richard Henry Lee passes a resolution kind of basically saying that why he thinks they should declare independence. Okay. June 9th, such actions and words were like a tonic to Adams. On June 9th, he told William Cushing, a fellow lawyer and later one of the original justices of the United States Supreme Court, that, and this is quotes, objects of the most stupendous magnitude, measures in which the lives and liberties of millions, born and unborn, are most essentially interested, and now before us. We are in the very midst of a revolution, the most complete, unexpected, and remarkable of any in the history of nations.
Interesting.
And so I thought that was this. He understands the levity of this moment.
Yeah, nothing like to suggest a revolution really has been mainstream yet.
Yeah, and this is like he kind of has this understanding that like if we declare independence, like Henry Lee wants,
right,
or is suggesting that we all are kind of pushing for. This could be not just a revolution for us as the colonies, but for the world. It's going to have a big impact, and it's going to kind of go down in history. And that might be, American kind of.
Well, you're looking at it in retrospect.
Yeah, but to see
absolutely.
that he wrote that at that time before they actually declare, and he understands the magnitude of it, I think it's really kind of cool. And I've always kind of found John Adams to be of the founding fathers. Always kind of my favorite, and I think I need to start reading
you have that book over there.
John Adams book,
yeah.
Because he's a very interesting guy, I think, from what I've heard.
Well, remember that show? We were watching the show. Didn't it get canceled?
No, it was a miniseries.
It was a miniseries
based on that book,
and it was that's right. Yeah. It was good.
Yeah, so I don't know, it was really cool.
I like that. Yeah. Very cool. That was very profound. I don't think I have a follow up as profound as that, but I have one, and it is from Prosper's Demon.
All right, hit him with.
Hit me with your best shot.
If we read this quote to you, you will have done 5% of the book.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, the exorcist is speaking to the reader at this point. And he says, it's a bizarre but widespread myth that only heroes have good qualities, and the only qualities heroes have are good. Villains are by definition all bad. And he says that's bullshit. Think about it. Think of all the qualities it takes to be a successful or even a competent criminal. You need courage to climb into a stranger's house, the floor plan of which you don't know, fully aware that the householder is almost certainly well provided with weapons, large dogs, strong and active servants. Would you want to do that? And for what? A sack full of small portable artworks for which you'll probably get 10 groschen on the kreutzer? To which add a calm, deliberate mind, resourcefulness, a steady hand, a delicate touch, the ability to work quickly and methodically, and that's just your scum of the earth back alley burglar. Take the truly dreadful, evil men of history, slaughterers of nations in the name of some twisted ideal. Of necessity, you must allow them to have had faith, which moves mountains and without which mere works are in vain, and hope, loyalty, and self-sacrifice in the name of the cause, and practically every other noble and glorious characteristic you could possibly think of, except for the small matter of being in the right. And I think the thing that made this even more poignant was when he says here in a parenthetical statement, which the older I get, the more convinced I am, it's just fashion anyhow, like the brims on hats or the trimmings of ladies' sleeves. And if you don't believe me, just think how much morality has changed in your lifetime, and then read a little history and ask yourself, do you really honestly think these changes will be permanent. And so he's using this justification when he's trying to explain whether or not to pull a demon from somebody.
Okay.
And it's like I said, he has had this innate ability since he was a child. And he says that he says, I can see the devil in people and I can see the devil in you. And when you're just a kid, you don't know the rules, what's expected, what is and isn't done. And there's nobody to ask and you're scared. But you keep on seeing the cat out of the corner of your eye and it becomes unbearable not to bark, chase, and bite. And I thought it was interesting because what he's telling you there is like, this is in me. I want to go after these things and remove them because it's just my innate sense to get them at all costs. But then when you start grappling with whether or not it's the right thing to do, it puts something in the way. But then also what he says about when you're a kid, it's like, that's just like children. It's like they see something and they have to react. Sorry. Sorry. I'm so much. Right. It's poignant to me.
I get it.
It's very much, I feel like that is very much an opportunity to like reflect on the whole overarching message in the book.
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
But now you've pretty much read almost the entire book. Go finish it off. You'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
So that was that. That was our book update.
Yeah, we got it updated.
Yeah. And we got the children in the background playing out in the streets.
Right.
It's just fantastic. This was fun.
Tell us what you thought.
Yeah. Let us know if you enjoyed this. What are you guys reading right now? Have you been reading any good books lately? Like button, subscribe it.
Yeah.
And we'll see you in the next one.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
Bye.